It's March Madness and another wave of athletes who are going to gain life-changing social media followings on their pages. We don't talk about this enough. These guys got to figure it out. We watch some of these March Madness guys, and now some of you can't identify where the hell they are now. Only a small percentage will play in the NBA, regardless of how they do in that Elite Eight, Final Four, Round of 16, Sweet 16. We can change that. Let's go, baby. It's that time of the year. March Madness. You already know I got my bracket ready. I got my bracket ready. This is another episode of the Athletes and Assets podcast where we talk about business through athletes, and I will share something that athletes should really consider as they absorb their newfound March Madness fame. First of all, I want to say this year for my bracket, I am going to have a very strategic formula of how I fill out my bracket. I filmed this Tuesday, March 19th. You're going to probably watch this March 21st, 2024. For this year, I'm going to test an hypothesis. Let me break this down to you. I'm going to pick the teams that have the least amount of transfers on their team, the teams with the most continuity. Those are the teams I'm going to pick, all right? So within reason, right? I'm not going to pick all 16 seeds over ones, but I will say that a lot of these teams, a lot of the past national championship teams have had transfers, but they've also had continuity of guys that have been there for a couple years. So that's what I'm choosing for my bracket. You choose your bracket, I choose mine. Mine against yours. Actually, I might plug my ESPN bracket, Athletes and Assets Crystal Ball, because we do know all. We are the business-centered podcast. However, we do know a thing or two about basketball. So it's March Madness and another wave of athletes who are going to gain life-changing social media followings on their pages, particularly Instagram. And these athletes, only a small percentage will play in the NBA, regardless of how they do in that Elite Eight, Final Four, Round of 16, Sweet 16. Regardless, it doesn't matter. Very few of these athletes will play in the NBA, and only some of them will have a fruitful career overseas. And many of them will only play basketball a couple years after this March Madness tournament. 3, 4, 5, maybe. I don't have raw data statistics to give you. But most of these guys aren't playing very much longer after this March Madness appearance. So what do? They got to find a job. How do they bridge the gap between this incredible couple of weekend or two, and finding that job or building a company? Some of these athletes may be brave enough to become an entrepreneur. And so how do you leverage this like explosive mini, fame tour and notoriety? How do you parlay that to the next 10 years? I'm talking 10, 15 years from now. How do you leverage March Madness? How do you leverage this March Madness for that opportunity a couple years down the line that you didn't realize you're going to be building? I feel like I'm a genie right now, a genie with the teacup, coming out of the teacup and giving you the future game, the formula. Because all these athletes aren't going to just live off endorsement money or NIL money from what they're making, in the next couple months. And so they got to figure it out. This is what we don't talk about this enough. These guys got to figure it out after they're done playing. We watch some of these March Madness guys, and now some of you can't identify where the hell they are now. We have all these March Madness legends, and you can't tell me where the hell they are now. You cannot identify where these March Madness legends are now because they have buried themselves to be nowhere to be found. And that's their fault. We can change that. So I'm going to get back to that. But first, listen, I've written a newsletter about this. We made an Instagram short about this. Greg Isenberg, the CEO of Late Checkout, a holdings company of companies that center their product around their community and particularly bootstrap these cash flowing businesses. He came here and gave an awesome speech about the ACP business model. And I'm such a fan of this business model. This is the third time talking about it because I think this is really tailored towards athletes. So Greg, who's been an advisor for Reddit, TikTok, CEO of Late Checkout. He's sold 3 companies before the age of 30, one to WeWork. Awkward. Anyways, he's very successful, and he talks about the ACP business model that a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs should follow. So what is the ACP model? Let me break this down very quickly. The A stands for audience. When entrepreneurs get started, they should have an objective and make content around that objective. And if it's interesting enough, gain a following of around 10K or more followers on Twitter or Instagram. Choose your weapon. But start making content that's curated to the objectives you set for yourself, for you and your business, and build an audience, all right? Build an audience. You can do this. We're doing this at Athletes and Assets. We're not there yet. Well, I think aggregate, we might be getting to 10K, but not on one platform. We need to be 10K on one platform. All right? So once you do that, all right, then you're going to think about the C, which is community. 10% of that 10K following, let's just call it 10K, probably loves you, man, or is really interested in what you're doing and building. They're DMing you, they're spamming you, they're commenting a lot, and don't ignore them. Don't push them off. You got to bring them in to a private community, a WhatsApp group, Slack, or Discord, what have you. Throw them into a private space, and it's all about the P, the product. All right. So build a product and ideate with that special community, all right? What can that community help you with? They can help you iterate on the product. They can give you suggestions and feedback. They can help you ideate. Not dictate, but ideate. Not dictate, but ideate, okay? I think that's a big discernment Greg Isenberg tries to make, that these guys aren't going to build it for you. You have a stubborn vision of what you want to build with the P and the ACP, but the C can help you. Okay, so easier said than done, but this is a sort of the structure of the business model that Greg breaks down. And if you haven't checked out Greg Isenberg on Twitter, great follow, and gives a lot of this kind of insight. Okay, so I'm here today. I'm going to make it parallel for athletes. So how can athletes leverage the ACP model? Okay, well, athletes are tailor-made because they have the head start. Most of the athletes already have the audience, the A. They just need the C and the P. It doesn't guarantee that the C and the P are successful, G, but the A is certainly a hard thing to acquire, and athletes have sort of a built-in advantage there, or a head start, I should say. Not an advantage, a head start. So, athletes, when they're done playing, they get all these followers on Instagram, and they stop playing, their life and content they can create, consume, and post starts to change. And for some athletes, they take that step and become entrepreneurs. And it's uncomfortable, but you kind of have to reinvent yourself at this sort of juncture where, if you're building, let's say you're building a coffee company, like my friend Melissa Ortiz. She's a soccer player. She's not a basketball player, but she has built a huge audience online through her Instagram and TikTok channels, and makes videos around her lifestyle and coffee company, Kickoff Coffee. And this audience filters in through her different channels to her newsletter, her blog on Kickoff Coffee, and also her products. And so while the C could be improved a little bit, I would like to see, potentially a WhatsApp group or a Discord channel. If Melissa hasn't made one already, she already might have made one. I cannot confirm or deny this. But what happens is she's built this niche, this community around the coffee product. And so she's built coffee that's tailored towards soccer fans, Kickoff Coffee, hence the kickoff. So quick case study there. But athletes after March Madness can do this as well. Also, check out that episode with me and Melissa. Let's go back. Let's turn back the clock a little bit. Matt Mooney, my guy from Texas Tech, came in that thing, went to the Final Four, went to a national championship, has this big following, this loyal Texas Red Raider following, and also this basketball following. But he's soon realizing if he wants to successfully build athletic IQ, which is AI-powered software to help you perfect your shot, he's gonna have to reinvent his content. To an extent, he's still playing professionally, so whatever professional basketball-related stuff he posts still helps get to his main objective. If you go look at his page, he's in Europe, he's still playing, he's building this product, but as he builds his audience, people are seeing that he also is working on a tech product that's just tailored to what he's doing. And so here you have another potential case here. I'm going to give you, these are real life examples. And so I think Matt, if you're watching this, throw your most devout, loyal basketball tech fans into a private community and take them along the athletic IQ journey, man. Take them along. Show them the product updates. Show them, give them maybe give them a demo if they're in the area, okay? Like this little stuff really adds up to build that product, all right? So that was a basketball reference. And yeah, like that's what we should be focusing on as athletes. I think athletes should really try out this ACP model. So here's what's going to happen. This week, someone is going to become the next star, the next Cinderella, all right? And they're going to be an undersized guard, 6'1", 6 feet, and they are going to take the world by storm. They're going to build a large following. They're going to leverage it with NIL. It's going to be awesome. They're going to be sitting on a lot of cash as they leave college. They're going to be an upperclassman. They're going to try to pursue the NBA. They are not going to get drafted and maybe be on a two-way or maybe second round, but go to a summer league team. Then they're going to go to the G League. Then they're going to go overseas for a couple years and realize that shit's not sweet or that very much enjoyable while they start tinkering on their side project to get ready for after they're done playing basketball and take that step into entrepreneurship. I've seen this time after time after time very quietly, and this is what's going to happen. And so what they should really think about is this framework while they're doing this. Because not everyone can go to the NBA. And so I would suggest one way to look at this is the ACP model, okay? The earlier they leverage this audience, as they start to think and ideate about their entrepreneurial endeavor, even if they're still playing, the better off they are because you're going to start to filter the real ones, the OGs, into the community, and they can help you build this. So that's my 2 cents there. ACP, audience community product. It's March Madness. Ooh, it's my favorite time of the year. Kaizei Tominaga. That's a guy I want to see potentially adopt this business framework. He may have an NBA shot. I don't know. I'm not the basketball analyst podcast, all right? So I'll save my thoughts there. But whatever Kaizei does, he's going to have a devout audience. Loves him. And within that audience, 10% of that will help him build his next product if he decides to do so. But he's got to organize it in a very constructive way, and there's no shortcuts. ACP business model. This is another episode of the Athletes and Assets podcast. I'm your host, Noah Lack. I bring on your favorite athletes to chat about a business topic, or sometimes I go solo like this and give you some fun things to chew on and think about as we create a world of business where athletes have the most leverage at anyone out of the table. Yes, sir. See you for the next one. March Madness. Let's go!